What we created here may be unique in all of human existence.
All the way to the top.
We created a paradise.
What we're doing out here is so incredible. Our kids are amazing.
It was small.
Mom needs to be in the hospital right now.
Hey everybody, welcome to What the Flick. Matt, Alonso, opening in theaters, I guess in limited release this weekend, is Captain Fantastic, which premiered this year at the Sundance Film Festival.
All right, Captain Fantastic stars Viggo Mortensen as the father of six kids. Six kids. They live in the woods, and they're very self-reliant. They hunt their own food. And he is teaching them, he's kind of homeschooling them as much as they have a home out in the woods. He's teaching them to read far above their level, really interesting things like Guns, Germs, and Steel and Lolita, and a very interesting selection of literature that they all seem to be able to interpret. Their mother is missing. We find out that she's ill, and then we find out that there's been a tragedy, and they have to leave their haven in the woods and go into civilization to go to a funeral. And trouble ensues. Let's watch a clip.
This is your fault.
Leslie had a disease.
Wherever you are, stay there. You show up, I will have you arrested.
We can't go to Mommy's funeral. We have to do what we're told.
We want to see Mom. Grandpa can't oppress us.
Some say love. Right now, this is your first real test. Remember your training.
They have hot dogs.
What's cola?
Poison water.
So happy that our family is together. It's all local and organic.
How did you kill those chickens? With an axe or a knife?
There's a rotisserie chicken, so you buy it, it's already dead.
The kids need structure. They need to go to a real school.
I sincerely hope you haven't been doing what I think you've been doing.
Your daughter has taught me many things just now. Will you be my wife?
Hello, Grandpa.
Abby and I have decided that we're going to file for custody of the children.
Will they take us away from you?
That's a possibility. Our children shall be philosopher kings. Makes me so indescribably happy.
So I saw this movie at Park City and was not really sure what to expect. It's directed by Matt Ross, who I think people mostly know as an actor. He was on Big Love. He was in Last Days of Disco. He's one of those that guy character actors. You seem like oh yeah, him. And for a while I was thinking, oh God, this is one of those really sort of self-congratulatory movies where this guy is raising his kids away from civilization and aren't they great and isn't he doing a great job and blah, blah, blah. And then about halfway to 2/3 of the way through, the movie's acknowledging, you know, this isn't entirely perfect either. and he's making mistakes and these kids are sort of unprepared for the world in these particular ways. So I liked that. I like that it doesn't just give this rubber stamp approval of a lot of which he's doing is cool though.
Yeah, this is a real interesting movie, and I found myself having seen it, like I've been thinking about it a lot, and it's real interesting because the movie early on, like you're presented with this family and this structure that is so unusual and so much different than what we're used to in a modern Western society, but you're on their side and you understand. You know, this movie does a good job of saying, you know, kind of almost not even backhandedly, like overtly saying, like, look, this is the way to live. And as they get more and more into quote unquote civilization, you see, you know, this movie seems like it wants you to think about like, oh yeah, it's civilization that is insane,
right? Not
these folks. And I think back to, there's a moment in the movie where they're talking about Nabokov's Lolita and the daughter's interpretation of that.
Right.
And I think that's where the movie kind of tips its hand, or at least gives you some subtext as to what it's doing. And I don't want to give that away, but I think that's a telling point in the movie. And by the end of it, you're like, oh, okay.
Well, there's a lot of little things along the way, like the oldest son who is brilliant and sort of wants to, you know, hasn't told the dad that he wants to go to college and sort of leave the family. There's a moment where when they're on their trip, they are at a trailer park, and he winds up spending an evening with a girl who's his own age, and is so completely flummoxed by this level of social interaction that he's never had before. It's like you can tell, like, oh yeah, you really need to get out in the world a little and know what other people are like. You know, and then you've got eventually they cross paths with the mother's parents, who are played by Ann Dowd and Frank Langella. And you think the movie's going to set them up as these sort of cardboard villains, and then they wind up having more layers than you would expect.
And one of the things I liked about this movie is that early on, like it's painting very black and white. It's a very black and white portrait, and then by the end of the film, nobody's really off the hook. And it's complicated, and this is a movie that raises as many questions as it tries to answer, and I liked that. It's a movie that kind of is willing to let its audience give the audience the benefit of the doubt that, look, like, you're gonna have your own thoughts about this, you're gonna have your own feelings about child raising and society, and yes, it has something to say kind of on both sides.
Absolutely,
right?
yeah.
And maybe not what you expect. It doesn't necessarily, I wouldn't say that it defends Western society.
And also, it's not a didactic movie about society or homeschooling. I mean, these are characters, and this is a really rich story. I think it's funny, it's sad at times. Like, you know, I did the classic I laughed, I cried kind of thing. And, you know, it reminds me of there's a French movie that I really love called A Christmas Tale, with Kathryn Deneuve and Daniel Auteuil, or not Daniel Auteuil, anyway, doesn't matter. Some French guy. But what I like about it is that every time I go back and watch it, I find myself not even just associating with, but sort of defending different characters. So like a woman who I thought was just awful and cruel and, you know, whatever the first time, then I'll look at it again, I'm like, oh, you know what, actually I kind of see her perspective. And this is that kind of movie where, yeah, you're right, they trust the audience to be like, we're gonna just present this to you and you can evaluate, you can decide what you think. But it's really charming.
The movie that this makes me think of or the scene that this makes me think of is the scene in Good Will Hunting in the park with Robin Williams and Matt Damon, where he talks about having stayed up all night after Matt Damon says, oh, you know, points to the picture and tells that story, and Williams kicks him out. And then the next day he's like, yeah, I thought about something about you and then I slept like a baby, because you don't know anything you didn't find out in a book. Like, and this movie has a lot of that discussion as kind of the precept of the whole movie. And I really like that exploration. And I've been thinking about this a lot, and the more I think about it, the more I really like this movie. And a great performance by Viggo Mortensen.
Yes, definitely.
Great performance by Ann Dowd. Great performance, as always, by Frank Langella. But like, we forget that Langella can do this thing where he may seem like a villain, but he's actually somewhat nuanced. And, you know, look, like, Langella hits broad notes a lot of times, but he's great in this, and he's so reliable.
And vice versa. He can also play those characters where you think they are, you know, like they're nice or whatever, and then they turn out to be devious.
Right.
You know?
Ann Dowd's great in this. You know, she's not given a lot to do, but what few scenes she has, she's really good. And the kids in this are great.
Yes.
The kids in this, and none of the names I remember at all. The kids in this are fantastic, and they carry a fair amount of this movie, and they're absolutely up to the task. Going head to head with Viggo Mortensen.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, it's a great ensemble, and I think a movie that really has, if you look at what it is on the surface, it's very easy to go, ugh. This, you know, this smug movie about, you know, these people who live off the land and they think they're so great, blah, blah, blah. But I think if you're paying attention, the movie's kind of telling you, their way has a lot to offer, but it also has pitfalls, you know.
Right. So you're number?
I gave it a 9. I like this movie a lot.
You know, I got to tell you, I'm kind of up there myself. Maybe not quite as high, but at least an 8.5.
Okay.
I really like this one. You know what? You're right, a 9.
Okay. Well, all right, fine. So we give it a 9. Where's it on the tomato meter?
It's in the 70s on the tomato meter right now.
All right. Yeah. If it's opening near you or coming to you soon, keep an eye out. It's a terrific movie.